Well, and you can tell everybody we love to get started on time. JJ, the hat lady, in case you didn't know. But we're really excited to just share today. I mean, and that's really what it is. It's just sharing and talking about all the things that we've been going through, what we can do, sharing ideas, experiences, and hopefully come up with some like good ideas so that we can move forward, helping our sellers and our buyers and ourselves, because we're all investors and we all live in the area as well. We got a great panel of people. I'm going to let them introduce themselves, and then we'll just kind of like really kind of open it up. Tracy Pamela and Shoot with Mortgage One is on her way. So why don't we start in this end?
All right. Well, my name is Alyssa Russo. I'm an independent insurance agent with Maps Insurance. I write in all of Florida, and I am born and raised here. So.
Are you related to the Russo Realty?
No.
Rasso Realty.
Oh, is it?
That's okay. And here's Tracy from Mortgage One. Just right there. Go ahead.
I'm Brennan, the area manager with Max Home Inspections.
Hey, Nina.
A licensed home inspector and also termite inspector. I'm here to make whatever you guys need happen.
Well, there you go. Tracy will be here in a second. She's our mortgage person, and I'm here to just kind of give maybe some direction from the broker standpoint, from a contractor standpoint, what we can do to get this stuff over the finish line or know when we have to stop. But I will say before the panel, we are keeping track of every listing or every sale that falls apart because of the hurricanes. And we're also keeping a separate list of potential listings, potential sales, but basically potential loss of income that you're suffering because of the hurricane. Back when we had the oil spill, a lot of our realtors were able to get compensated for partial loss of income and lost sales and things. So when you have them, make sure you're identifying them, and Janet is keeping two separate spreadsheets on that. Hey, Miss Jean, you get to sit right up over here.
I lost two sides at once.
Yeah, so when you do, make sure that we either put it in like an update in app files and notify us so we can keep track of it. I know Florida Realtors are going to want to post statistics as well as we go forward, because this is an unprecedented event in Florida. It's like what, the 1 in 500 year, and it had to hit Lee County. Aren't we lucky? I know when the storm started, those hurricane guides that we're always passing out and giving to our customers, we had them pulled out right away and we were looking through them. So how you want to, I don't know which one is better. You guys have questions more about insurance, home inspections, just throw your stuff out there. And everybody's got ideas. So, I mean, this is really just a free flow conversation.
So I got an insurance question.
And say your name when you do it, just so with people on the screen. So they know.
Michael Hall, Jones & Co Realty. Can I sell you this house?
I'm okay with it now. I'm over it.
So I heard a story that somebody got their homeowner's insurance and then they got their flood insurance from another company. And because their home flooded, the main insurance will not give them any money for having to move and rent somewhere else.
So because it is a flood or storm surge, which goes under flood insurance, that would all fall under your flood. And flood insurance policies do have a loss of use. Most of them do. So you have to make sure that that's part of your deck page and your policy coverage when you get flood.
Okay,
Is there
so
a difference between the citizen, the national insurance and private flood insurance programs? Are there any significant differences?
So Citizens would be the home side. They don't offer the flood. The government flood is
That's
FEMA and the NFIP, which stands for National Flood Insurance Program. So your rate, no matter who you use through FEMA and NFIP, is going to be the same as long as the agent quoted it the same way. If they change some factors, that may adjust the premium. But private is completely separate. It's basically national. So they're not regulated by the state of Florida. They're not regulated by the government to have to apply for rate increases or any rate changes. Sometimes it's less expensive. The main differences between the two that a lot of people don't realize is that private options usually have one deductible for both building and contents. So say it was 2,000 and you had a flood loss, and you're only paying 2,000 once. With FEMA and NFIP, it's two separate deductibles. So you have 2,000 deductible for building damage and you have a 2,000 deductible for your personal property damage. Most people don't realize that, and then they have to end up paying out a lot more if they have the government flood version. but that's the more common one that people carry.
So the private one is better than?
It's
Or-
better in that aspect, but it's not always more cost effective. So I always quote both for people so that they can see the difference and then they kind of can make their decision. The other differentiating factor is that private allows you to have replacement cost on your content, should you want it. Usually FEMA, it's actual cash value on contents. And you can usually add a little more on your other structures. So if you had a shed or something detached, you can add more coverage through private than you can through the government option.
So I have tower insurance. I mean, this did not happen to me,
Mhm.
and I was supplied a flood policy and not knowing. So now I need to ask if this is a government policy or a private policy. And I need to ask and make sure that I have loss of use. And if I'm gonna have extra insurance costs, is what we need to explain to people.
Yes, so with Tower Hill, they have two different options unless they've taken it away. I don't write with them anymore, so I don't know for sure what has changed with the new insurance exchange. Before they have an NFIP, which is the government, you could do it separately and pay for it. Or they have a flood endorsement that you just add to the homeowner policy. That's more of a private version. And so that would have different stipulations and go back to the one deductible, things like that.
So then that's what you're saying, you wanna ask for a flood endorsement to your main policy is what you're saying.
If they will allow you, so if you are in a flood zone X, which for mortgage purposes, you would not be required to carry flood insurance. That is easy to add on to a homeowner's insurance policy as an endorsement if that carrier offers it, because not all of them do. If you are in a flood zone AE, AAH, most of those carriers won't allow you to endorse it because you're more likely to flood, so you will have to stick with the separate flood option.
Are you writing policies right now?
Yes, there's been some Facebook comments about how insurance agencies are not writing for like 30 days after the storm or whatever it may be. Carriers have opened back up, so they are, right now we have about 12. Yeah.
Where do we see flood going? Is it gonna get a lot more expensive? Is it gonna be a 40% increase? I mean.
The rate's gonna go crystal ball.
All right, so, yeah, right. Eden, Flood was already saying that if you were on the glide path, you weren't supposed to see an increase of more than 18%. I don't know if that's gonna change now that we've experienced Ian and all the money that they are paying out to folks. So we're kind of waiting for some updates to see what the new year looks like. If anything changes, it will probably be January 1st. So we're staying up to date. As of right now, nothing has changed. So it should cap at 18%. Yeah, yeah, and that's the government option. So private again is not regulated.
Joe,
Private flood can go up as much as it wants, whatever they decide, and they don't notify us what percentage that looks like since it's across the nation.
I mean, I'd like to buy some fix-me-ups, but I'm concerned if I'm buying in a flood zone, I can fix it up, I can pay for it cash. But who can buy it for me, and
Right,
will that make my sale difficult?
right.
You know, if they gotta pay 3 or 4 grand a year for flood.
I will say that flood along the coastline and in Cape Coral is getting very, very expensive.
So are to resell houses if they have a claim open?
So there are options, basically there are very limited options. But if the home has an open claim, we can look at what we call the excess and surplus market. With that though, it's gonna be a lot more expensive and there's probably gonna be some exclusions on whatever is damaged until it is replaced.
Okay.
The other caveat with those is that because they're excess and surplus, they're usually paid by the insurance agency, so I would be paying for that. Therefore, you are required to pay them in full upfront before we even submit the application to process, because if you say you want it, we submit it, and then you don't pay for it, we have to still pay for that out of pocket. And there's a 25% minimum earned premium. So if you decide to fix everything up and then you want to switch back to the standard market that most of us are familiar with, they will automatically keep 25% in all taxes and fees, and they only refund based on the 75% remaining and prorate that.
Is that their first year of the policy?
The 25% is every year, which is why every year we confirm and make you pay upfront that you still want it before we renew it.
What does that look like from a mortgage standpoint as far as claims being open and working with insurance companies? you're getting a loan on it, is that bigger issue rather than just going?
Correct, so if you have, and which is what I've been yelling at people about, is that make sure that if you have. A seller and they want to sell and our buyer wants to buy, so the first thing we were doing was picking up the phone Monday morning when we could get phones. And calling all of our agents and saying, make sure that if they make a claim, that we're gonna be able to get insurance on it, because that's the biggest problem, is if there's an open claim, you can't get new insurance on it. And if you can't get insurance on the property, you can't get a mortgage,
Yeah,
bottom line.
so as long as they're willing to look at options, they have options to write it, and she says, yeah, okay, we can do it. Just in
Absolutely.
creative insurance ways and mortgage is good to go.
Yes, and we also have a list that I can send you guys to. And it tells you all of the requirements by us. As far as the deductibles and everything that the mortgage company requires, which is most across the board, we're a little more lenient than most. But I have a checklist for insurance providers. I'll get that.
That's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, I have a great.
So that leads into my question regarding, if you're gonna list a property, okay, and say you have cash buyer comes in, and says, "You pay cash." Does or the insurance claim, does that follow the buyer, the seller, or both, and what the breakdown is? Because in our case, we have condos that have homeowners insurance, they have flood insurance. FEMA's involved, okay, as well as, so those three things there, so the question is, what follows who?
So I just had to ask underwriting this question for another buyer. So the claim can't be assigned. So basically you would have to distinguish that in the agreement that any monies that the seller would receive would go to the buyer. Because the claim follows the owner at that time of the claim. So they can work it out that way on the back end, but as far as insurance, I mean, we have no control over if they actually give that money to the buyer.
The claim can't be closed.
Assigned, yeah. Like where flood, if you sell a property and you have flood insurance, you can usually assign it to the buyer so that they keep that lower rate as long as it's a government option and not private. But you can't do that with the claim itself. So even the flood claim can't be assigned, but the policy itself can.
Okay, so in the hazardous contract, you need special language to specify that.
Mhm.
So we need that. Are we gonna have like specific language that the
Contract.
attorney says exactly this is what you have to put in? I don't wanna make something up.
No, we'll draft something up, but yeah, if you get creative with anything, just send it over to us first. Because we're seeing all kinds of lovely little stuff showing up on contracts, and not so much from our end, but on the listing side, all those buyers agents are coming up with all kinds of interesting things. And it begins with the word S, and then, yeah, and then you're looking at it and we're not attorneys. I mean, that's the last thing we are as attorneys. And when they start getting really specific about who's gonna be responsible for what after closing, that's when you just simply say, you know what, you really need to consult a real estate attorney and give them two names of ours, because that's the rabbit hole that we don't want to fall in. We tend to be very empathetic and help people, and then we're gonna end up hurting ourselves a lot.
So in general, if the condo association has flood insurance, so it's the exterior and whatever else, it goes to what extent, that would go to the buyer at some point. Buy the property, that would come in, they would take care of it. Now, say the owner actually had their own flood insurance and they're gonna provide contents or something, that would stay with the seller after.
The claim or the policy?
Claim.
The claim would stay with the seller.
Yeah.
Yeah, they would get.
It
money
makes
for that.
sense, I've got examples where I have other realtors telling me, oh, no, the seller gets everything. I don't think so.
Is it
It's kind of strange that information is getting from different.
Know it alls.
easier may not be the right word, but kind of like you, because you're mentioning condos or HOA kind of things, where there's two overlapping policies on there. If there's open claims on the master types of things, how does that affect the person buying an individual unit and their coverage?
So if there's an open claim
And
that
we'll ask
falls
that
on
to
the
you.
unit, that would be different than the building. If it's
Right.
on the building, we just explain that it's an association issue.
Yep.
They usually will bypass that and honor it as long as there's no existing damage to the unit itself. That's the
And-
biggest key.
Is that what you're looking for from the
Yeah,
mortgage standpoint?
we closed one already after the hurricane,
Okay, so
condo. I did the inspection myself.
Oh, well.
So-
I need some help.
Not that type of inspection.
Yeah, 'cause in our case, we have a committee. or a
Just an inspection, making sure it's okay.
association, 3 buildings, 42 condos, 21 were level.
Mhm.
So they had flood insurance, which is great, which is gonna cover the building,
Mhm.
all the way into the unit, including the sheet rock, and the flooring, appliances to some extent, cabinetry, et cetera, et cetera.
Mhm.
which is good.
Yeah.
But if we sell, then that would go to the seller,
Mhm.
right?
Which would be.
No, the buyer, sorry, the buyer.
Well, the claim money would
Claim's
still
there.
go to the seller,
They would.
yes, because you can't assign the
We
claim.
can't assign. If we sell our condo, it still goes to us, but the intent of that claim is to basically restore it.
So at that point, it's up to you if you're gonna give the claim money to the buyer.
And you have that option.
Well, that's all behind the scenes, that's not an insurance
That's gonna
issue.
be that's gonna be a cash transaction,
Right.
because the lenders aren't gonna allow those kind of claims
Only
to happen around.
Yeah. Really, so you're that option in your contract. Hey, I'm taking the money.
That might be more of a real estate question, because on the insurance side, I'm just. Insurance.
Dragging you down the road.
100 million years ago, when we had that kind of stuff, they used to allow us to open an escrow account and hold the monies. You know, like at closing, if we knew the claim was $40,000, the seller, we used to be able to put 45 or 50,000 in an escrow and hold it. They really don't like us to do that anymore. That's something we could explore, but most of the time they don't, and mortgage companies won't let that happen at all. I mean, it used to be you could close knowing there was a contract on a roof to get it done, but it was gonna be 3 months down the road. Lenders used to allow us to hold the money. That's a no-no.
Now we can't even get past the structure.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Area in this, right, like a dozen people saying, sell our place, and it's the same scenario. There's
so
flood insurance on the building, the condominium units in there, and the lower floors of the loan, those are the ones they want to sell.
right.
So there's a claim sitting there at some point, that the association is gonna distribute some monies to do whatever to get the place back to living. And you say you sell it for cash, done. So the monies that claim would come in,
Now your condo claim is probably different.
right, so
Right, but the condo claim's not gonna cover flood damage.
Right? Your condo claim would go directly to the person who now owns the unit when they disperse, unless there's an agreement made.
got it.
That's gonna be
Okay.
different than your private
Yeah,
insurance.
forget the private, this is the building.
Just the building
14 units,
insurance.
lower-
Yeah,
lower
that money will stay with whoever owns the property at
Coming
the
in
time that money's get dispersed.
Slash whatever coming in from their insurance, they have, and if it be distributed per unit. That would stay. with the
Yeah, that
buyer
would stay.
Because they're fixing the place,
Right,
as
and,
opposed to contents in the private thing that we had.
and that's where the value of how you're going to price your units to sell comes in.
That's what I need to know.
And that-
Are we using a percentage or are we kind of figuring it out somehow? I have a couple of baselines, but I don't know if it's valid or not, right?
That's what you really have to do, just kind of get an establishment of what the damage is. Or what your compensation might be,
Right.
to look at the value, like you just, like Deb just did one on Del Monte,
Yep.
that's closing. That was a house, it was listed at $1 million.
Was listed at 1.1. And we're obviously not getting that, it
Right.
was flooded.
So they took whatever the damage was
Right.
basically and took it off and sold it as is.
Yeah, because I mean, I've got a couple of.
Is, go what the tester tells you, or how do you figure out how much to discount?
Yeah, yeah,
You
well,
can't really do printouts.
you're gonna look at your established price for what it was all fixed up.
Yep.
And then we've got to kind of get an idea about what it's gonna cost to fix,
Get it back.
which is kind of nebulous.
Right.
From there, I mean, that's where you talk to contractors, talk to inspectors.
So what's the benefit of a post-hurricane inspection?
Which is the first thing you want, because we're gonna see some things, but you're gonna find maybe other things that the homeowners hadn't talked about. So maybe talk about how you're looking at differently now.
Correct. So we offer pre-listing inspections and post-hurricane inspections. Now with the pre-listing inspection, we can come into the home, give you an average estimated repair costs for everything in the home. That way you have a ballpark figure in order to, like I said, help out with determining where's the price at. Post-hurricane inspections are great for if you have had any water damage inside the home. We come in with an infrared camera, check, make sure all the repairs were done correctly. The benefit of that is knowing that there's no water in your home. Water is the #1 killer of a home. So we always recommend those, especially after a once in a generation storm.
Does the infrared show, if there's any mold in the wall?
It'll show us if there is any change in temperature of the area, so it would indicate that, especially if there's an.
Show a hot spot?
It'll show a change in color in the infrared. So what we could tell the difference between a roof leak, water damage from the roof. Or AC ductwork that's just leaking, you know.
Do you offer the mold testing as well? Just so we know if it's Stachybotrys and all those other lovely,
Correct,
lovely
yeah.
toxic mold.
Yep, so we do air quality tests as well as air sample testing, mold sample testing, so we'll come in. Get a reading of the air circulating and swab that specific area and get you the results of that within 2 to 3 business days.
Does that fall into your fee or is that an extra cost?
So that is an additional service, but that is included with a basic home inspection package.
Yeah.
You get that mold, visual mold inspection included. If there is no mold on site, you have a 3-month warranty. Now, if there is mold on site, it does have to be tested and then that warranty is activated.
What more do you charge for that extra mold test?
So the mold testing is $299. And then you can do each additional sample as well. If there's, it comes with 3 samples. Each additional one is $80.
And as Marty Grant says, I will share this with you, ladies and gentlemen. That's our CEO of Florida Realtors. If you are on the listing side, I would strongly encourage your customers to have that done. Because if we're gonna see lawsuits coming down the road, it's gonna be because of respiratory issues from mold. It's gonna be all of that kind of stuff. So have it done, and if I will come up with something, if they refuse to have stuff done, you have the option of either walking away from that listing or making them sign something, because they're 5 years from now, we're gonna see a lot of issues coming up.
So I have a home in the yacht club that flooded,
Right,
so I should maybe be taking pictures of all of the work. Maybe just.
is it your own personal home you're talking about, or listing?
Listing.
I would not go to that level, being the agent, because it's not your house. Keep in mind, because you want the responsibility to not be on you, you want it to be.
So I should
on the
recommend
owner.
them to do it?
Encourage them to document.
Okay.
Just like when we did radon, and you did radon gas and remediation, the more documentation you have to prove what was done, the more you're protecting your seller and the more you're protecting yourself.
Okay, because they did remediate, they did spray, they couldn't be in the
Right.
house for 24 hours after spraying for mold or whatever.
And DIY is not what you want to be doing.
What's that?
DIY is not what you want to be doing. You don't want your sellers doing that. I mean, it's too much potential liability for them. Oh, I'm handy dandy. I can pull out all the drywall, blah, 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 and I'll spray some bleach on the wood and then put some drywall up, and then you sell the house. And what happens 2 years later? We get a certified letter from an attorney that said, the buyer's children now have all kinds of respiratory issues from the mold that was behind the wall. And who are they coming after?
But if I may add to that.
Yes,
most
please.
Insurance companies won't accept work that has been done by unlicensed people.
I'm
No.
sorry.
Alyssa.
She's gonna give you her cards.
Yes. Which I think I have to go to the truck for more now that I've realized.
Be careful about any claims or statements that you make, so if you throw out a value of gets. You get a verbal from someone says, oh, it's gonna cost $60,000 to fix it, and you pass that on, do not do that, make sure you got everything in writing. These side deals with the assigning the claim money to.
Yeah.
So then that later on, they go, we're not gonna give it to you, then you gotta file a civil suit against them to go after that, they may file a suit against you, and you can say that. There's so many things that happen. Don't make any
Yes.
statements, anything, you're just the intermediary.
Yes, and
Paper comes from here to there.
texts do not count as writing.
Yeah. Jay.
Yeah.
So on my particular property, I should note on the MLS that this house has flooded 2 to 3 inches.
You have to just,
And
number
would I write that they have licensed contractors that are remediating? I mean, what extent
You can-
should I go to?
more is better always, but go back to your seller's property disclosure statement.
Okay.
Have your sellers fill that out.
Do a new one?
Yes, you can update it and do that. And if they need to go into further statements about what's happening, that's fine. like I said, the more documentation you can have of what's going on, home inspections, pre and post are good again, because it's showing that we're trying to be transparent. It helps the seller in the end of that.
Now,
But
is it a good idea for my sellers to hire Brennan,
Brennan, yes, sir.
where the work is open? And they can show him documentation that the house was sprayed for mold before it's put back together. I mean,
I'll
I'm
let you
just,
answer that. This.
I'm just asking, is this probably a good idea to head off any issues? Where a licensed person is viewing the work being done. You know, for our documentation, I think maybe that would be pretty smart, maybe.
I think it just depends on the depth of your expertise and how much liability you want to take.
Yes, I mean, the licensed contractors, usually they'll take pictures of their progress. I always recommend once the work is done and completed, that way we come in after work is done, check, make sure everything that was supposed to be repaired was done accordingly. And that the whatever the issue was isn't there anymore. Because if we're there while they're still doing the work, they close it up, you know, we think everything is good. A month later, we don't know if it was done, you know, if there's gonna be any issues. Post the repairs.
And most good contractors are documenting themselves,
Mhm.
even on new construction. They're doing lots of videos and they're doing lots of photos to document for everybody as they go, because everybody's really worried about getting sued. And I think that's really what we're more worried about here. I mean, we're gonna make sales, but we don't want to get sued and lose all our commissions down the road.
I wouldn't even claim that remediation was done, I would say remediation report available upon request or attach it to the listing.
Oh, there is.
That's what I'm talking about, yeah.
If you say it's been remediated.
Right,
they're gonna
right.
You,
Makes sense.
it's not done properly or. it's-
Seller state, it's
And-
always seller states.
Okay,
Here's the documentation.
so another question for you, so you would do your X-ray or whatever you're doing, right? Which is gonna be an added cost anyhow, right?
So our post hurricane inspections are $299. Check out the exterior of the home, document any damage currently on site. Check each room for any moisture intrusion through windows, doors, also ceilings. And then we'll pop into the attic. And if there was any water damage, you know, high enough to where it affected electrical outlets, we'll test all those. And again, everything that was, you know, supposed to be repaired was done accordingly. Or just for homeowners' knowledge to know if their home made it out of the storm, you know, without any hidden issues.
Yeah, I mean, you can walk into our office in the Cape Coral building and you wouldn't know that we had water. You would not know that there's water up on the walls because we did the ozone and we did dehumidifying and all that, but they're gonna have to go in and they're gonna have to take out part of the walls, but some people may just decide not to tell you that. So make sure you ask lots of questions when you're listing property. And just chatting and conversations. It's amazing what spills out of their mouths.
So we have had like 3 years. Like,
Yeah.
we all kind of have a general idea, we know what areas of them what. And we all know sellers are supposed to disclose things. But
It's a law. It's a law.
Say like 2 years down the road when everybody's kind of forgotten all this. And we have Susie Smith who remediated everything herself and doesn't disclose anything. And we don't remember that Big Lydia was preserved all flooded, or Iona all flooded. Are we liable?
That's why you get them to fill out that seller's property disclosure. It's the law says the sellers have to disclose, but the law doesn't say they have to disclose it in writing. So our policy is always get it in writing. Then they can't hold you liable for anything.
Okay, what about those third listing agents that refuse to do that and now I'm representing the buyer?
You can go in there and you can try, put it in the contract and get the seller to fill it out. I mean, we can try, we do get quite a bit of pushback on that. And usually,
She doesn't like that answer.
well,
I have a question. No, so with him,
mhm,
if you go in and do a home inspection for a seller that doesn't want to give the disclosure. Do you guys remember the hurricane information and you check those in that areas, or
Well,
is that something you guys
yeah.
check for?
like historical data.
Right,
each of them,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we pull permits off homes, you know, roof permits, you know, if there's any, you know, additions built onto the home, if the buyer requests us to pull permits, we will. Usually we don't, but with our home inspections, if there's no damage to the roof at the time of the inspection, you do get a 5-year roof warranty. And then there's a whole list of warranties that are included with our inspection. And like she mentioned, if the seller doesn't want to tell you, I'll find out what's going on.
And that can determine what type of contract you want to use. Because right now, the as is your free look for 15 days normally to go through that. You may decide that that's still a good thing to use, or if you go to the standard contract, that puts the seller's feet to the fire immediately. That they're obligated to these different kinds of things. So that may give you more strength. You know, if the seller really chokes when you go in with a standard contract, that would be my first thing I'd say to the listing agent is, oh, are they hiding something? What are they concerned about?
I see a lot more standard contracts going on.
You're gonna see a lot more of those, and if you haven't been, we'll do another class on those, because very few people have been using them lately, but they will give your customer a lot more protection, but it also protects the seller from the same aspect. There's a limit to what they're obligated to do legally. And the good part is they'll keep everybody in the deal, because that 15-day whatever, oh, I decided I didn't like the blue paint on the walls, I can get out. With the standard, blue paint is not structural. They can't just decide to walk away from it. And we don't like losing our commission and working for free.
I also go one further and read the inspection or the exposure form when it comes back. If you know that area was decimated, I mean, it's a Fort Myers Beach property, they're saying no, there was no flood damage. Are you sure about this? I've used some.
That's wonderful. Do you have proof that we can advertise? Wow, this home didn't get damaged during Myers Beach. Yeah, you're right. That's a good point.
They come after everybody.
Yeah,
If you
just-
have any assets, they're coming after you.
And it does bring up, when we're talking about contracts, there, remember that little addendum for insurance? That might be a really good thing, because insurance costs obviously have changed, and you may give us a little idea about what to look for in that. But go ahead and get that deal written up, put that insurance addendum in there, because it allows you to put a figure in there of what they can get insurance for. So you can move forward while they're trying to get insurance on that, and she can do some shopping to see what kind of deals.
Yeah, I will say, don't wait until the last minute with your buyers, because especially if there is damage and then we have to do the whole claim situation and go excess and surplus. Right now, my guys at a minimum are 72-hour turnarounds, if not sooner. And if I even put urgent ASAP, maybe 48 hours. So these people wait until the day before, and then I can't help them, which is why a lot of agents just stopped writing them all together. And that's why I think some people are saying that they can't get insurance.
I will tell you, and this was surprising for even agents that were in the business a long time, explain about binding insurance and what that means if they don't close. I mean, to me, it was really interesting. And that's why these people, I don't want to pay anything. I want to wait until 24 hours before I get ready to close.
Right. So you have a binder. If you have a mortgage and you're escrowing, then we send them the deck page. Technically, the binder is valid for 30 days. If anything happens, we just cancel it out. You don't pay anything. If your closing date changes, we just simply change the effective date. If you are a cash buyer and you still want insurance, we can say you're closing on November 30th. We'll bind it for November 30th. You have until 7 days post November 30th, if not longer, to actually pay it. So if anything happens, we can just cancel it, no penalty. You don't have to pay anything unless it's been in force and you own the house and then you sell it down the road, like you have to pay that part of the premium, but otherwise the binder is just there to hold your spot, so to speak. And then the carrier will do their underwriting and everything once the effective date hits.
Thank you. Question back to pricing. So I did a quick CMA based on all the types of properties where I kind of know where the peak was, kind of where the trail off, kind of what the values were. Now I'm seeing examples of some realtors putting this number in there, like I was talking about, but I have a lot more information behind the scenes about what it would take and actually get back to it. So I'm basically saying, hey, on average, on this particular type of property, not many. Here's what I think is the fair market value in that right now.
In a range.
And here's your, kind of a range, right? And then just set it at that. Now, as far as commissions, I'm seeing kind of commissions all over the map. I'm seeing people at 2, 2.5, 3. You know, it's a tough situation, but as a realtor, how do people feel about that? Because, you know, to throw 6% on top of something that's completely trash and needs complete renovation is really not morally there, right? But what's general thoughts on that?
Okay.
You know, it's a business. I guess.
And we're in Jones and Company Realty, so we can
Right.
talk about commissions freely and openly without any
Right.
problems. That's the disclaimer in there. That being said, I always tended to look at what we do. What we do is a service. And we work very, very hard to earn our money.
Mhm.
And when there's short sales and when there's foreclosures and when there's heavier damage or there's massive divorce sales, then you've got to work 3 to 4 times harder. Why would you want to discount what you do? You're helping these people get out of a bad situation and you need to earn your money.
That's what everyone else says.
Yes, and now as a listing agent, you're gonna put more money out front. To get the property sold, you're gonna work harder to get that listing. So if you feel that you want to do a different kind of a split.
Yeah.
That's totally up to you. You want to stay competitive to make it, to get your property sold above other people's. You know, you may want to think about tearing it up, you know, we'll pay X percentage if it's sold within so many days and
Yeah.
You're
You
worth
know,
every penny.
go down there, but that's it, you know,
Yeah.
you've got to let them know how hard you're gonna work
Right.
to get this done. I mean, the carpetbaggers are calling and they think they can get properties for pennies on a dollar, you know, well, good luck for that. Now, if you're the buyer's agent, get them to pay you a lot of money to do this, because they're gonna have you running around looking for the needle in the haystack bargain.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and there's nothing wrong with you doing it if you want to do it, but get paid. But you're gonna be earning you are gonna really be earning your money, and it's gonna be a weird market for the next minimum of 6 months. It's gonna take 2 to 3 years to get the roofs and all of that kind of stuff done. But it's gradually just gonna get better and better and better. I mean, the market is already coming back. And if your houses are in great shape, those sellers can command a lot of things. They really can.
Which can I get on my tour page?
Absolutely. And because people need repair work. Okay, this is how you get a house sold.
So how many people know or heard anything about people looking for rentals and there's not enough houses? How many people have known that? Right? How many know anybody that's looking for someplace?
Yeah.
Okay, so this program allows for people to buy a home with no money down after a hurricane. If their house was destroyed or damaged and they're looking for another home. Why aren't you guys selling them houses? And here's, how many people in here have worked with me and know me personally? Right? Okay, so. You know, I'm telling you, I'm 33 years in the business, trying to help you guys and help other people at the same time. Okay. So Joanna's gonna give me an example. I can make these for you. I can customize anything. You know, my team is behind me. I'm here to support you guys. My team is here to support me and they are awesome. I mean, what we had to deal with you, we took it 3 days, we had to clear it close, 3 days.
It was amazing.
You're 3 days.
No other lender could do it.
So we're doing things that other people can't all the time. So with that being said, I'm asking Joanna to show you a flyer I should have brought, I didn't.
I can't do this.
So there's Christopher Allen Homes and there's Coastin Homes. You guys look them up in the MLS. I can make personal flyers for you and your pictures on them, and here's why. Okay. If Matt Lachey, my fiance was out there meeting with a client. They have a beautiful big home out there. First floor blown out. They're living on the second floor. They're very well clients, and there's people in Matt Lachey living in their houses that have been condemned. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
All right, sure. So these homes that are brand new construction. That the builder is gonna give you, if you use us and we get you pre-approved as a preferred lender with Christopher Allen Homes. They'll get up to $15,000 towards their closing costs and they have no down payment. North Cape is close to Matt Lachey. It's temporary.
Right.
And your house in Matt Lachey, if you think it's gonna take 6 months to be done, and then we come up on it and it's 7 or 8, well, you're your own landlord. If you don't like yourself, that's your own problem.
So what's
You
the
know?
cap in Lee County right now? On everything?
426.80. That's why pulling up.
Yeah.
So here's an example. I'm gonna pass this around this. So I just want you to see this. This is an example of a home and the flyer that we're sending out, okay? Basically, it shows them what their payment's going to be on that house with no money down. Go find a renter, put them into these houses. I don't think that they know that this program's available. I've been out hitting the streets with this since the Monday after the hurricane, and I'm hitting everywhere I go. I've been doing the association stuff. I've been going to offices. I have another one. I'm doing them back to back, but the problem is these renters, all they're thinking is rental, rental, rental. Now, who else knows historically after a hurricane, right? What happens? Prices do what? Up. At least 9%. 9%.
It's gonna go down.
So,
like it's now.
If we've got a renter, they can afford the payment. Even if they can't, maybe it's two families together at once. Just for 6 months to a year, these people need to do what they want to do to, or what they have to do to get into a place. They can't be living in wherever you said there's people are living.
Who was the second builder? You said Christopher Allen.
Poston, COASTON. STON. I sent an email out with 6 homes that were already available to be, in about a week, say, but we still have to process their mortgage, which takes a couple weeks depending on the client. So we can show them, here's what the homes, I have these flyers and I'm trying to get them out there to show everybody. Here's what your payment would be, no money down, I mean, it's a simple solution. I don't, you know what, if you pull a house that's under 426.80. 426.80. Pull a home, find a buyer, get it to me, we'll work up the price and say, this is how much it would be.
All right, good enough.
Any house under 426.80.
And that's in Southwest Florida.
It's county by county. Now you go to Collier County, it's, I don't know what it is. 541 or something like that. It's high, much higher.
Now, this is a standard
It's really
FHA type
county.
of thing, so
It's an
single-
FHA program.
So it's single family, duplex,
No,
no duplex.
no duplex, not in the 203H.
Okay, that's what. I want.
Single family,
So you couldn't do it that way.
if it's classified as a single family residence, yes.
Mhm.
Unless if the condo is approved, you can't do the 203H. It has to be an FHA approved condo. So you can't do mobile homes, can't do 2 to 4 units.
So you prove by LIPA that it's as a single family, even though it's attached with a shareable.
It's usually in the title.
It's
It'll tell
always
you
in
in
the
the
title.
Yeah.
So, yeah, if LIPA says it's single family. you can
It's so
certainly-
good. Do you know how many of these we're processing right now? Because I'm out there hitting the streets.
Do you have any of these flyers right now?
I have tons of them. I will send them all to you. I have all kinds of homes. I have,
This is for
Give
anyone
her
who's
your cars.
paying someone-
if they renting or they own,
Oh, they own, but the owned home has been condemned.
yes.
It has to be gone.
Yes,
Yeah.
now, here's some other things. So if they show proof that they're currently working with their servicing mortgagee, which they would have called, oh, she's got them. So which would they have called and get proof that they're working with their current mortgagee and servicing, we don't even count that mortgage against them.
Sorry about it.
They can have a cosigner if they need a parent to,
So Jason, depending on the credit score, say the person's credit score is way up, can you get an additional amount for that? Or
no, that is the Lee County
I mean,
limit.
it's great.
FHA.
That's
says-
FHA's county
Yeah.
limit.
Just didn't know if-
That's the maximum loan amount.
Oh, maximum loan.
Loan amount is four
So they could
26.
dump $200,000 down on something if they've got, if they've got money.
And at that point, they don't need it, we'll do conventional. But if we need to make sure that we don't have that home against them to qualify, we're gonna put it the 203H.
Okay, so you're actually, so you're suspending the loan, you're not suspending, you're suspending the loan on the damaged home?
No,
You're not counting.
oh, no, they
You're not
it can't be deferment or foreclosure, we just have to show proof that they talked to their servicing mortgagee and they're working with them to let them know that the house has been destroyed, but once they close on this, then they should defer.
So that doesn't, so it doesn't go into their DTIs?
Right.
That's income
Correct.
ratio.
Correct,
Okay, all right.
so the house isn't counted against them as a debt, so they don't qualify, basically.
Tracy, can I clarify? Now, this isn't just builder, you're saying this FHA thing can also be on something that a builder doesn't have.
Correct, so let's just
But
say.
now we're going to a 7.25 instead of the 6,
No, no.
8, 7.
The rates prevailing for FHA, okay? So whatever the prevailing rate is for FHA, we're gonna use for
I
the
got you.
203H.
So that depending on your credit, you can get better.
If you can buy a
Correct.
resale home, it doesn't have to be new.
So, but if you buy a resale home, you don't get the builder credit. That's just why I showed you
Oh,
this.
gotcha.
So if you buy a resale home and you have, let's just say you have a listing and it's at 400,000 and you're trying to get it sold. You're like, hey Tracy, I think this would be great for a renter. Send me the information. We'll work up one of these sheets and say, this would be great for the 203H. Throw it out to all of your social media going, if you know someone that needs a place to live, here's an opportunity. The seller's gonna give them a credit for 5,000 to help them get into a house with only 2,000.
Because they still have closing costs.
Right.
Yeah.
But with the builder credit, it doesn't, you don't
The
have.
other part is the 15.
Right. So you just work with your seller on the other side. We're back to that where you can get money from some of these sellers
Correct.
because they want to make deals. There
There
aren't,
are,
yeah, you know.
And it has to be from this builder.
no, it can be
Can be
from
for-
Poston or Christopher Allen.
So
So
already agreed to give that amount of money.
Right.
42680 is the maximum loan amount.
Oh,
Lee
Not-
County
not-
loan
not-
amount is 42680.
Yeah, but if it's 100% financing, then that would be the
Right,
pretty close to that. There
correct.
you
But
go.
if somebody wants to put a little bit of money down and get a 430, then they can do that.
My question is with the house at this price, 400,000 and $15,000 that the builders are giving, what are you seeing as the closing costs in addition to table?
There's no additional closing costs.
Your normal, tell me,
No, I'm saying-
the
I'm
normal
saying
closing
with
costs on an FHA loan with Mortgage One would normally be how much percentage of the deal?
For with mortgage one,
Like 4 or 5%?
Because I mean, there's
2%.
Okay.
If that,
Okay.
if that.
So
Now, when you're,
400,000 is what I'm trying to see.
So basically,
Don't
two to
don't
four.
they wrap
So
it-
here's the thing though, with a lot of new constructions, the builder's contracts show that you will pay for stamps on the deed and for the owner's policy. Or they'll pay the owner's policy if you use their title company. Okay, so it's a case by case basis. What we do is we work up the closing costs. So when we get a contract from you guys, whether it be from the builder or from a regular, you know, seller, whatever it is. My team goes through every line and highlights who's paying what to make sure that we don't miss anything. So it's gonna vary per contract on how much those costs are gonna be as
Okay,
well.
all right.
But we don't charge origination fees. We don't, you know, we're still one of the cheapest in
But
town.
on these deals, so if you have a fee, that can get wrapped into the loan too, right?
No,
Uh-uh.
no,
Right.
nothing's wrapped into the loan, but the upfront mortgage assurance on our paycheck.
Add your 4% onto the sale price of the house as long as it appraises. And then
Right.
have the seller contribute.
Or if it's VA, yeah.
How much, are they still doing 6% seller concessions on FHA and is that $15,000?
They can get up to 6% and 15 is.
Exactly.
Now, of course, it's gonna change. If they're gonna do a conventional loan and it's less than 10% down, well, then we're limited
Yeah,
to
I know,
3%.
but I'm just talking about the FHA one. Okay, great.
Do you guys want me to send you a sheet also on seller concessions? Yeah, I have one of those too.
And if you need a,
Send that, I will put it out in the minute.
and if you need a class on that, we can do that as well.
So seller concession.
I was gonna say, we've got about like 15 minutes left, and I know we had a lot of people with a lot of questions. Is there anything
Okay.
we haven't hit yet?
I have a quick question.
Mhm.
Okay. I have almost 7,000 in the bank. Can I get some money from GMAC or?
Do you have home insurance?
Oh,
Do you have home insurance?
yeah. I'm still
So-
waiting for the results.
Okay, so you can apply through the FEMA disaster. I don't know much about their program as far as who they are accepting and not accepting, since that's not technically insurance related. I've seen some people that were still able to get some money from them, and I've seen some people that they did not because they have home insurance in place. However, Governor DeSantis just put something out there to where you can apply through FEMA even more to get help towards your hurricane deductible. I haven't heard of anyone going through that yet personally to know how successful that is.
I heard some people are getting money and it depends on their income and their wealth.
Okay.
So if you're on social security and that's it, you probably have to get more money.
The idea behind FEMA is to help those who cannot help themselves. That's the basic concept of it. Like everything else, everybody tries to stick their fingers in the pie and get whatever they can, but that's the idea. They're gonna look for the lowest of the low first. We have 300 people who lost their homes that cannot afford to replace anything, and they're living in the old Sears building at Edison Mall. These are people who literally have nothing. They came there with nothing, and that's what they're living in. So those are the people that FEMA should help first. They're the ones who are gonna qualify first for those trailers that they're moving in.
Tracy, let's go ahead, Sears, you and I.
So
They don't call it on you. I already went over there.
they're not gonna buy.
We're turning into buyers.
These
I
people-
can't, social security is not enough.
These people will never be able to buy. These are people who were living on the edge and the fringe anyway.
Yeah, that's sad.
Yeah, we went over, well, a couple of us girls, we went over there on Sunday. We brought, they have literally nothing. They need clothes. They need, and they're living in a thing that's 24 hours a day with the lights on.
Oh,
So, you know, so they need sleep masks. We're trying to get donations for people that need 50 sleep masks. If you go to Dollar Tree, they're like $1 a piece. You know, we're trying to get 50 of them for them. We brought some towels and dog food over because some of these people had dogs and cats. They're keeping their dogs and cats, but they literally have nothing, and it's a FEMA thing, so nobody's really aware that they're there.
Geez.
So there's
how wonderful.
there's a few of us that have found out about it, and they're letting us come in. You know, they're looking for people to come and just even sit, read books and do things with it, because these people they're stuck in this building with no cable TV, no nothing, you know, so.
She,
Yeah,
I have an insurance question.
Oh,
all right, I went off.
That's okay.
You know me, I go.
That's okay. I have a, customer that I have under contract, but she's not on the multiple listing service yet. It was supposed to go on the day after the hurricane came in. Her insurance adjuster has told her that her roof doesn't need to be re-roofed, it just needs to be repaired. My concern with that is, who's writing policies on roofs that have been repaired?
Yeah, so that's gonna be the big question moving forward, because DeSantis changed the guidelines where if it's 25% or less, you can repair versus replace. So if the roof has been repaired and you have a 4-point that shows at least 5 years of life left on it and no deficiencies, then that should still qualify for insurance companies, assuming that it's not already old. Because most carriers
14 years old.
Okay, so if they can still prove 5 years, though, the law is it has to be at least 5 years or more for them to not non-renew you and for them to not say, no, we won't write it.
Okay.
Does that
so
limit
who's
the amount
actually
of
taking
carriers?
that? Who's actually doing that? I mean, how many carriers do you have that are gonna?
So even though they're all supposed to abide by that, a lot of them aren't taking certain age of homes now to bypass that rule. So my main go-to right now, unfortunately, has been Citizens.
Okay,
Would it,
that's what I thought.
would it be a rule of thumb, wrong thing to say, like if we're talking about insurance, maybe that they should factor in, say, 2% of the purchase price of the house, as a round robin idea,
I've
just
never
if we're guesstimating?
I guess that would depend on what the purchase price is. Right now, I would say on average, best case scenario, new construction, no issues, you're looking at 12 to 1,400, depending on where it's at.
And that's just insurance, that's not flood.
That's home insurance. Worst case scenario, we have to go this E&S route, roof exclusions, things like that. You're looking at closer to 5,000 or 6,000 for
A year.
insurance.
Yes,
Yeah.
so she's under contract for a new
Yeah.
roof. for
Yeah.
that reason.
Yeah, and another misconception, which wasn't always the case, so back in the day, Citizens used to honor that if you had a roof contract in place, they would still take the policy, knowing that it's gonna be repaired or replaced within so many days. They don't do that anymore, and so I've had realtors tell buyers that, and that's not accurate anymore. So Citizens has way too many policies, they just don't have the capacity to make any exceptions whatsoever, so getting anything through them, I've tried and I've been shot down every single time. So your best option is the E&S route in the meantime until everything is fully replaced, or if the seller wants to wait until they've replaced everything and then they can sell it as completely renovated, because that's gonna be the next listing term. Just make sure that no matter I would say this, just to be on the safe side, no matter the age of the house, after all damage has been repaired, call, get a wind mitigation and a 4-point, because some carriers are gonna start requiring 4 points now, even though the home's not old.
This one's.
So they're gonna need one anyway, but
Okay, thank you.
So, yeah, so inspections are even more important than they ever were.
Yeah,
So anybody wants to waive them like in this craziness, no, we're waiving everything, don't.
Okay, so after the roof is replaced, that's when you come out and with your magic camera and see whether or not everything is tight.
So you can call us,
It's like the magic camera.
You like
Oh,
some
pretty
big
cool,
pictures,
you know.
you can call us before the roof is done. Now, like she said, you may not get the credit for that new roof being on there, but as long as the roof has 5 years of life, which means no active roof leaks and repairs less than 25%.
Missing shingles, it will have to leak sooner or later.
Gotcha. Well, the thing is, if you do get that repaired, we offer a 5-year roof warranty with our home inspections.
That's cool.
What about an action?
I think she's already under contract. You need it for
Catastrophe
9.
happens again. So like if you did a home inspection, say in August, and now they've got shit because of the hurricane.
Well, if there was no damage, yeah, if there was no damage there was no damage at the time of the storm, and that's valid for 3 years or 5 years, up to 3,000 repairs from the time of the inspection.
And that's something to promote. Yes, ma'am.
You guys also keep in mind that, if you get them into this house, right? And prices go up a year later, what are they gonna do with this house probably?
Sell it.
It's another sale. I meant to bring that up, so.
That's the idea. It's reaching back to your old customers, keeping in touch. The same thing we've been normally doing in real estate. If you just keep doing it consistently, persistently, you will continue to make money in it.
And it's a genuine care to help. It's not like, but it's, you need something, we have something, let's do it, even if you're. Have to move to North Cape instead of wherever it was, it's just temporary. I think that's why there's so much traffic.
They're all,
Yeah,
but
everybody's helping
but
everybody.
if you're empathetic and you show that you're caring, and we all genuinely do care about our customers.
Hey.
They're gonna remember that and they're gonna refer you and
Right.
refer you and refer you, and you get to feel good no matter what,
You help them out.
and
Hey,
that
I
will
got a
come-
place for you.
that's how you stay in the business 30 years. That's how you stay in the business 30 years, is by doing that and being there. There's a lot of realtors right now that are gonna drop. We're gonna see a massive decline of realtors at the end of this year. And
I already know two that got out.
There's only like 11,000.
there's 10,000 in our realtor association. Those who are dedicated to staying in business and wanting to pivot, wanting to learn, wanting to work, wanting to help people are gonna stay in the business and they're gonna make money. Those who are just in it for low-lying fruit, they're gonna move on to the next easy profession that they can be in. Because
No, two of them already took jobs.
yeah, because they're not looking at this as a career, they're looking at this as a job. And real estate is not a job, it's a lifestyle, it's a commitment to your community, it's a commitment to your people. And that's why you guys are here, because you've done that, you've demonstrated it.
They used to work with
So
201 agents, now it's 199.
Yeah, there you go.
It's going down every week.
So yeah, we're gonna put it on YouTube for those of you who want to go back and review it, all of that kind of stuff. If you have any more questions, because I know you're gonna have questions as soon as you start repeating it in your head. They're all gonna, you can either give your cards to all them and then they can reach out. That might be the best way, is give your cards to them. And then they can follow up with you, do a one-on-one, have a cup of coffee, get involved. And start getting your customers with them.
Yeah,
Don't-
easy this is.
Let her sell the
It's
program.
a this
Let her
is,
team
all they
sell
do
the
is
program.
scan it.
Yeah.
They scan it, they apply, we pre-approve them, you sell them a house,
And if you're confused, they'll sell it for you.
right?
You know,
Always use that.
if you need to understand, you don't have to understand everything you just said about the home inspection. Say, I've got a great guy who's gonna cover your butt. And here's what he's gonna do. I'm gonna have him call you, and I know you'll spend 5 extra minutes talking to the customer and explaining it. Same thing with this first name, Alyssa, I forgot, sorry. She'll take a few minutes, because that's why we have these kind of vendors here. Not people who are just in it to just make the fast buck. They're in it to help you make the deal. And we're really a whole team when we start working with our customers. Every piece of this is what makes it happen and get to the closing table.
Happy clients.
One last comment.
Yes,
You had mentioned
please.
something earlier about talking about the future state of the insurance industry. So be careful when giving estimates to buyers regarding the insurance. The seller and what they're paying is not even close these days to what the buyer is gonna be paying for insurance, and they have to understand that. Carriers have already taken rate increases. Most of them will go into effect January 1st. Right now, the lowest I've seen is 12%. They're going to keep going up. I've gotten quotes for certain homes in Collier County up to $12,000 just for the home insurance. And especially older homes. Citizens, while it is the last resort, it has been a saving grace for a lot of people for that reason. They're usually half, if not more than half, the cost difference between the next best option that's out there. So just keep in mind of that. We've already lost 6 carriers this year. I imagine we'll probably lose a couple more if they don't take enough rate increases in the next couple of
So
years.
what kind of property had a $12,000 increase in Collier County? Was it?
It wasn't 12,000 per se, so I don't know what they were paying prior. This is for a buyer, and that was one of the better options that I could find. These are $1 million homes, if not close to $1 million homes. They're older, they're too close to the coast, things like that. So inland, Golden Gate Estates, relatively inexpensive. Obviously, if it's older, it's a little bit higher.
So, yeah, so when you were talking about pricing homes, I think the older homes that need more work, they're gonna cost more, it's gonna be reflected in the price of the home, because the insurance is gonna be more. Or the seller's gonna be writing checks maybe for the first year's insurance as a negotiating tool.
I'm seeing it as some of the realtors with low
So-
volumes.
Everybody's doing it, you know, we've got a house for 400,000, the next door neighbor called and said, I've been watching this house, you know, I see you have it listed for 400,000, I'll give them cash $200,000 today.
Right.
You know, well, thank you very much, we'll go ahead, you know.
Well,
We'll present it, you know, and the seller says, no, thank you very much.
That would be funny.
In other
I'm gonna
words-
buy it myself for that.
That's usually they're like, wow, if I could get that. I would love to.
You know what? Uncle asked if I can do that for him. Thanks.
You know, but hey, thanks for trying, you know, that's all you can do.
Price a contempt,
Just the land. And you
even
can,
though it's gonna have to be.
it's $8,000 to $10,000 to knock a house down, unless there's a lot of environmental issues with it. We're very lucky. Yeah, Michael, yeah, go ahead.
Sorry. What's this 50% damage to the property? We're hearing this in Cape Coral in the yacht club. How are they determining? And then the city wants them to knock it down, we've been hearing. What do you know about this?
So again, I don't know much because it doesn't necessarily impact us on the insurance side. If there's no home, I can't insure it, but based on what we have been reading, and she may know more about this. Okay, do you want to take over? You're nodding your head.
So, the 50% rule is over 5 years over the assessed value. The gist of it is, you cannot improve the property more than 50% over 5 years.
Now it's the house, not the
Of
land.
the assessed value, which is
Assessed.
lower than the value of what the house is really
And
worth.
take the land.
Okay.
Correct, minus the land. So, if you bought the house and the seller put a roof on a year ago, and you've got $100,000 to work with, well, 40,000 went to the roof, now you can only improve it by 60,000, okay? Now, there's some things that you can do to help with that. And so one person went and they got their assessed value up, which, okay, that helped, but your taxes are going up because your villages are on assessed value. Now, I did put Kevin Besserer, who is the head of our public policy, and he's in touch with all of right. I asked him the question because I have a friend who actually, they allowed us to get an independent appraisal and use that. So he's supposedly checking with them. So I would definitely check with them to see if you can improve it more than 50% using
So
an independent appraiser
they'll use the appraisal instead of the assessed value.
in some situations.
Well, like how they have to.
I don't know, there's some loophole, and one of my friends got around it, and they were able to order an appraisal, and they were able to use the assessed value. No, they're in Key West.
Almost saying that.
Doesn't, yes, the same thing, doesn't matter, they got around it. If he got around it, then there's a way, but I did ask Kevin, because he's going into a meeting with FEMA. And that was one of the questions that I posed to him. I don't reply all, I just reply to him. I said, hey, this is what, and so he is checking on that, so you'll know the answer.
And always check with your insurance carrier, because at the end of the day,
Well,
no matter what you do, it may still be a 1963 foundation, am I correct? So keep that in mind too, how insurance companies look at those houses.
Yeah, if you renovate a house, and you do not tear it down completely, it holds that original year bill.
You hear that, Michael? Michael?
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, if you tear down a house, but you don't tear it down completely, you still have the studs up, it holds its original year built value as far as insurance.
Yeah, I
goes.
heard you leave a portion of the wall.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that up bit.
Yeah, so when you do that, start talking to a lot of these people before you go and do something.
Yeah.
Because that can affect how your decision is made. And that may be very well be that people decide they just can't afford to rebuild it. It may not be worth it unless they absolutely love it and want to live there. And then they may just tear it down. And that's where we're seeing a lot of that in the yacht club. It's just, that's an older stinky house. It's a functionally obsolescent.
Can I give them these challenge?
Sure, give them a
I'm
challenge.
challenging every single person in here today to go find someone that's displaced and it needs a home and put them into a house with the 203H.
What's the new one?
Like you're gonna get a commission. I'm gonna get you a commission out of that.
And a bag of Reese's Pieces.
On another note, I got a gal that lives in that mobile park across the street from Shell Factory. And not far from there, off of that same road, is they're building a new development. Does anybody know the name of that development?
What manufactured homes?
No,
No, it's over near Sable.
it's behind Entrada.
And it's backing up to Sable Springs,
Um,
I think. Oh, wait, no, wrong. But no, I don't know the name of it yet. There's a couple of different ones out there. We'll try and find out for you.
Yeah.
Lennar's-
Yeah, she said she'd like to buy in there. I mean, she said for 300. I said, I don't know if I find something for 300. She said 350 tops, whatever, but I'd still like to give her the information.
Like, we're gonna put the price on
Okay.
it.
We'll find it for you.
Yeah, we will. And we're over, thank you, because I was just gonna wrap it up. So yeah, we are over time. But thank you.
Thank
for
you
coming,
guys.
Really.
You guys.
And make sure you give your card to each one of them so they can do some follow up and you can find out.
That email, that's